And what's up, everybody? I'm back with another video game review, and this is of Crash Bandicoot: The Wrath of Cortex, which was released back in 2001 on most main systems during that time. The Xbox, the GameCube, which is funny because that was a direct competitor to Nintendo, and the PS2, which is the system that I played it on. Yes, I played the actual version, not the emulated version, which a lot of people who have talked about this game or reviewed it or are big Crash fans probably have played it. And Oh boy, I've been wanting to do this review for a while. It's not so. Here's the thing: Crash Bandicoot Wrath of Cortex. This is the fourth game in the Crash Bandicoot line. I have the first three in a special 3-in-1 pack for the PS4, so I will play those. I have not yet at the time of making this review. But what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to upload reviews in order, chronological order of the game. So 1, 2, 3, 4. But I'm starting. I did this game first, so there's probably going to be things that I'm going to talk about in future reviews that I will compare to this game. Like, maybe compare it to this game, but also try and see it as the fourth game, as stuff that you probably already need to imply to know about Crash Bandicoot that I don't know because I haven't played them before. So, just a disclaimer before we begin. Well, let me just say, this is one of the hardest games that I've ever played. It's up there with Captain Toad for one of the hardest games that I've ever played. It was not as hard as Captain Toad, a little bit easier. Only because you didn't need all the stuff to unlock the levels. That's probably the only thing that it has above it. This is one of the hardest games I've ever played. It took me a long time to beat it, and it's a rage game for sure if you are not a fan of the Crash Bandicoot series or like never played it before. This is definitely going to get some anger out of you, as it did for me. But something that this game has that really surprised me is it has a very nostalgic feel for me. The graphics and the noises and the colors and just the playing it on the PS2. I've never played this game before, and I was not alive in 2001 when this game came out, so it's a little weird, but yeah, it works. You know, it gives me a soothing feel. But as you play the actual game, you realize it's not as soothing of a feel as you'd want. And I see a lot of people that talked about this like on YouTube videos and online. I think they played the emulated version. They didn't play the console version, and the emulated version or whatever version they played is the original version on the PS2 looks a lot harder than those. The screen is different. The controls are worse. And it could just be a product of the age of the game, but it just looks so much harder. There's no tutorial in this game, and I think as I did some watching videos, I think that's pretty common between all the Crash Bandicoot games. There is no tutorial. Again, maybe in the first game where stuff you're supposed to imply, I've already known. I don't know, but it would have been very beneficial. The only instructions that we get are about the special powers. By the way, those special powers are stupid. The only two that I ever needed to use, the one I had only used the bazooka power in the final boss battle. I used it a little bit in the level before that, but only because I wanted to try it out, not because I actually needed to. The only power that I actually used outside of that was the double jump, which I think should have already been an implied thing to put in the game. I didn't use any of the other powers at all. I didn't even know how to use any of them. They do give you instructions when you unlock the powers, how to get them, but I didn't really need them, so it didn't really matter to me. Now let's talk about something that really, really is just a bad game mechanic, and that is the long loading screens. Again, a lot of people say on the emulated versions it's not or the newer I'm not going to keep calling emulated versions because there might be like remastered versions on newer consoles that they said that they're not as hard as they're not as long loading screens. But my god, there's a loading screen every like you to get to before the main version, before the game starts. There's a loading screen like before the title screen. That's what it is. Before the title screen, there's a loading screen. After the title screen, there's a loading screen. When you go to get a level, there's a loading screen. Okay. And when you die and have to continue, like when you run out of lives and you got to continue, there's a loading screen before you continue and after you continue. There's a loading screen everywhere, and they are like a minute long. They are asinine long. It's crazy. Um, and I put on here load long cutscenes. The only cutscene that's like super long, in my opinion, is the opening cutscene, which is about like 6 minutes long. I think it felt like that long at least. The rest of them are fine. There's not really any cutscenes outside of that, outside the very end of the game. A lot of them are just like holograms of like talking to the main boss and whatnot in Crunch, which Crunch apparently was introduced for the first time in this game. I don't have a Crash Bandicoot game after Wrath of Cortex. I only have the 3 that came before it, so I don't think I'll experience Crunch again. It was felt a little repetitive to fight him 5 times, just in different forms. I felt like it would have been nice for the elementals to maybe be their own boss instead of have Crunch with the elementals, and then fight Crunch at the end of the game, I guess. But it works out. It's not super bad. It's just a little repetitive, you know. I like the colors too. I talked about this earlier. The cool colors in the game gives a nice feel to it, in my opinion. Um, and everything kills you. Everything. There's a lab guy with a shield. He kills you. Nitro boxes. Oh my god, the nitro boxes. And apparently, there's a thing at the end of the levels where you can detonate them. They don't tell you that's what happens. Apparently, that's another thing in previous games that, again, probably an implied thing. But everything kills you in this game. The only thing that doesn't kill you are the things are like, I mean, seals, birds, dynamite, nitro boxes, people, uh, um, bullets. I mean, everything kills you except for the crates that you can break. It's insane. Um, and the hitboxes for a lot of these things too. You notice this in the second boss battle and the last boss battle, the final boss battle, the most. That the hit, and you notice it in a few of the levels later in the game too. The hitboxes for these are asinine massive. It's insane. Um, how big they actually are. It's crazy. Like a beam that's like going up and down. You're supposed to jump over it. You think, oh, when it's all the way up here and crashes like way down here, right? You think you could slide under it. No, you die. It's insane how technical this game needed to get. Um, Thankfully, since everything kills you, lives are easy to come by. You can get 100 apples or whatever fruit that you find in the game that gets you a life. There's mystery boxes that could give you a life. You can find boxes that will indeed give you a life, though those only work once. If you die, you don't get those again. Um, so at least that was a nice aspect of the game, I thought. Um, yeah, like I said, a lot of levels are fun. The ones with the ball, the vehicle levels are very annoying because again, the controls are awful in this game. This is mostly because of the camera angle that they choose to go with in this game. They decide to center the camera around Crash instead of have it on a set axis, so that you could easily focus on whatever you're trying to hit, whatever you're trying to look at, whatever you're trying to do. It's very prevalent in the vehicle races. It's in a lot of the vehicle levels. It's very prevalent in the final boss. It's very prevalent about 3 of the boss battles, in fact. And it kind of takes away from a lot of the fun playability this game really has, because there's a lot of fun levels in this game too. A lot of interesting levels and stuff. There was definitely effort put into this stuff, and you can definitely see that. It's just not. When you die 50 times because you jump over a beam, but because of the camera angle, you can't see that you actually missed it. It's a little annoying. There's some things in this game that really just annoy me, like the guys that stand in front of you and move to try and block you. If you try to attack them, they kill you. The only way you can kill them is if you jump on them. They're just more of a nuisance than anything. And And I think that was just a very pointless add-on in this game. I feel like they could have made this very much better without it. Like I said with the camera angles, I don't even know what else there is to say. It does, like, especially with, like I said, with the fruit bazooka at the end of the game, especially when Crunch is in a corner in the final battle, you have to lock on, and you have to lock on with the joystick and hold down with the left, and then shoot with the right. But if you go to shoot with the right, most times what's going to happen is the angle is going to fuck up, and it might hit a wall or whatever, and then it's going to reset, and you're going to miss. And you only have like a couple seconds to actually shoot him, so it makes it very, very difficult to do that, especially at the very beginning. The first shot that you got to get on him, and the very last shot you got to get on him. Those seem the hardest ones. And the game is quite honestly a little creepy. The graphics, especially, are a little creepy sometimes. The cutscenes with the elementals when they talk to you in between levels, and when Cortex and Crash talk to you, they're a little creepy. And that's mostly just because of like the dark atmosphere, the space setting, but also because of the there's a lack of dialogue in this game. Outside of the cutscenes, there's dialogue in the cutscenes, but like Crash never talks. What the hell? Is that a thing that's supposed to be happening? The only voice you ever hear from him is when he gets hit. And then nobody talks in the battles, like in the levels, nobody talks. It's only in the cutscenes. So it makes it quite honestly a little creepy, especially in the ones that don't have any music, like the second to the last level before you get to the final boss. All you can hear is just electrocution noises. You don't hear any music. So most do have some sort of music, which is just a little weird. It gets a little. Don't play it late at night, like when you're a little like out of it because you're tired, because it'll get a little creepy. It might leave you some nightmares. And like I said with the camera angles, again, another thing that I want to point out is that sometimes it'll switch from a 2D platformer to a 3D platformer, but it'll still be in a 2D form, but it'll act like a 3D platformer, so you can easily walk by stuff and miss it during that portion of the game, especially the crystals, which you have to get in order to unlock the final boss. You think, we'll get to that in a minute. But then and then it switches back to 3D. Sometimes it's facing Crash as he's coming towards you. So it's like this instead of like this, where it should be. So you can't see shit that's coming in front of you. You can't see if there's going to be like special platforms you got to jump on, or you just got to go, or you got to climb up on the wall and spend an hour doing this on the jungle gym. And I don't know, it just gets a little jank, a little crazy. It's really, really bad choice design there, in my opinion. Maybe that was on purpose. I don't know, but I think it was just a bad way to go about it. And a lot of the jump times are inaccurate. You notice this especially in the second boss battle, but you notice it at other points in the game too. Sometimes it'll let you double jump when you've unlocked it. Sometimes it won't. Depends on how far down you are. Sometimes it will go farther. Sometimes it won't. Like sometimes momentum will carry the character, and he'll slide onto a platform or slide off of one. But the next time you jump, it'll land right where you hit the first time. Sometimes it won't jump at all. Sometimes it'll jump too early. Sometimes it'll jump too late. Again, it could just be a product of the age or the controller and the game, but it gets really annoying and very repetitive and very, 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 very awful to deal with. Another thing that's introduced in this game, well, I guess it's not introduced in this game because I've seen it in other games, like I've seen previews of other games before this one, and it's a switch between Coco, which is the female character in the game, and Crash. There's only a few levels in the game that involve Coco, but she's really not that much different than Crash. And this, like, I hear there's a lot of things that she doesn't get in the game, which makes it kind of like a little bit misogynistic. But quite honestly, for how I played the game, like special abilities, that's like a lot of stuff that Coco doesn't have that Crash does. Thankfully, you don't find any bosses with her. Maybe I would have seen it if I had some bosses with her, but I don't know, it just doesn't seem like a necessary change. I get why they did it, because I think it's something they do in previous games too. I don't know, it just doesn't seem like something that is necessary, you know? And then finally, the bazooka again. I think I already talked about this, how the camera orientation times it and whatnot to lock on. So, and then, of course, you beat the game, and you got to go back and beat the game again to get the gems. And there's also relics, and a second kind of gem, and all these, like, death runs, and the bonus stuff. And I did a few of the bonus levels, failed most of the time. I did succeed in one of them, though. But, I don't know. Credit to the developers for making this a very replayable game, and stuff, to get the true ending and to also 100% complete the game. But actually, I hear it's 106% completion because they don't know how to do math somehow. So thank you for trusting. Thank you for giving them money. Apparently, past me or past parents or whatever. See, I can't talk about a lot of the death runs or the bonus stuff because I didn't do them. I didn't do the speed stuff either, time trials or whatever they are. So I can't speak about that, but I can only speak about what I did, and that was beat the story, beat all the levels in the game, including all the bosses, and I got the not true ending. I've seen the true ending, so I know what happens. It's fine, it's funny, cool, whatever. And I just don't have enough motivation to go back and beat it again right now. But I think I had enough to do it through this review anyway. So my final score for Crash Bandicoot Wrath of Cortex, or Crash 4, is 6 out of 10. It's not a horrible game, but it's a bad game. A hard game, a really hard game. Too hard of a game, I think. And, yeah. Not fond of this one at all. But maybe I'll find more appreciation for it by playing the first 3 Crash Bandicoot games, which I haven't done yet. The reviews will already be up by the time this review goes up, so stay on the lookout for those. Or find those when you're done watching this. And what are your thoughts on Crash Bandicoot Wrath of Cortex? I'd like to know your thoughts about it in the comment section down below. And so that's going to do it for this game review. Got any other fun games you want me to play and do reviews of? Let me know about that in the comment section down below. And stay tuned for other much more amazing content. Until next time, I will see you guys later. Goodbye.